Welcome back, everyone, to Watcher of All Things. My name is Kiki. This is my podcast where I talk movies, TV shows, and all things entertainment. And today is episode 17, where it's a big one. We're talking Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I saw it last night in IMAX in a disappointingly almost empty theater. It was, I don't know, there's probably like 15 to 20 people. No, not even. Maybe, I don't know, 12 to 15 people. I was kind of bummed. And then I read online today that it's doing very well financially, and it had like the best Thursday night previews of the entire franchise. So, I don't know. I'm a little conflicted, but it is Friday, May 10th. It is a cool, sunny day. I've cut some grass today. I went to the gym and I'm ready to podcast. Happy Mother's Day weekend. I have finished university officially this week. I have completed my major research project or major research paper for my master's, and it's going for publication now, so it's out of my hands. Feels good. I'm very happy to be done that chapter of my life, and I am not thinking about a PhD anytime soon. If I even look at a university right now, my eyes are going to roll into the back of my head. Anyways, yeah, I've watched tons of stuff this week. Every night I've been watching things, and lots to talk about today. So let's get into the news first, because there are some good stories, lots of casting announcements this week, but here we go. Here's the news. So now that it's May of 2024, we are starting to get lots of trickling in financial analytics and news about all the movies of last year now that Disney has done their earnings call and stuff like that this week. So basically every year Deadline does this thing of like the most valuable blockbuster tournament where they kind of go through all the movies of the previous year and they compare and try to like bring a consensus to what was the most valuable and most profitable blockbuster of the last year. But they reported that 4 of the kind of 5 least profitable movies, so the biggest bombs of 2023, there were 4 Disney movies. So I have the article here. It says, so Disney, for the first time in Deadline's most valuable blockbuster tournament, dominates the annual bombs section, claiming 4 of the top 5, top or bottom, spots of our 2023 list. Typically, the studio owns a majority of the year's top 10 most profitable films, thanks to the Marvel movies, but not this year. A lot of this stems from feeding the beast of streaming service, Disney+. The studio's initial plan during COVID was to shell out $14 to $16 billion annually on content by this year. With Bob Iger taking the CEO reins from Bob Chapek, he's trying to right the ship with a less is more strategy, zeroing in on quality that is the number one motion picture studio can come back to form, which we'll get into in a second. But let's go through this top 5 biggest bombs, or bottom 5 movies of 2023, I guess. The first one being The Marvels, which had a net loss of $237 million. This is all in American, by the way. So when Marvel fanboys and fangirls smell it's going to be good, they crowd the theater. But when it's a dud, they stay away. One would think a sequel to a $1.1 billion grossing female superhero movie would be logical and asked for. However, The Marvels' predecessor, Captain Marvel, benefited at the box office from being a bridge between the Avengers Infinity War and Endgame. Yeah, a lot of people forget Captain Marvel, the first one, was very profitable. It didn't receive amazing critical reception, but still it made 1.1 billion American, did really well, had a great theatrical run. But the second one, yeah, 237 million is a huge loss. And as they say in the article, it also didn't help that the writer strike / actor strike were happening. The film couldn't really be promoted. And you saw that a lot in the summer, that like a lot of films came out and perhaps they didn't perform as well as they should have because there weren't the stars going on Hot Ones. They weren't going on late night shows. They weren't doing, the Puppy Bowl or whatever, the puppy answers question with puppies, whatever. It was really only A24 and independent films that could do that, which was sparing at best. That was The Marvels with 237 million loss. Next was The Flash, 155 million. I mean, it was released way before the strike, but Ezra Miller, they had lots of issues that were being published in the tabloids, but also this was a film that they had to keep rewriting. It's been delayed for years. I mean, they tried to bring back Michael Keaton and maybe lure people in a Spider-Man No Way Home type way, but people were just not having it. I think there are interesting parts of that movie and some of it is enjoyable, but overall it is a pretty big dud. And all the CGI cameos at the end are almost, I don't even know how to like morally questionable, I guess. Yeah, like they're using actors who have died and they're just like CGI replacing them, or they they got Nicolas Cage to come back and didn't tell him really what they were going to do with the capture of him. So yeah, The Flash lost 155 million US. The third was Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, another Disney film, which had a net loss of 143 million. I saw this one, and it wasn't the worst thing I have ever seen, but it definitely was mixed. I don't know. There were movies I hated a lot more, but also, does Indiana Jones really have a cultural pull anymore? I don't know. Like in the article, they talk about like Top Gun Maverick was able to bring people back, but that was such an enjoyable film, and the quality and word of mouth is what brought people back, and it was a fun summer movie where Top Gun doesn't have a lot of cultural pull today with the younger generation. I don't think people are really worshiping at the altar of Top Gun, but like Top Gun Maverick was able to bridge divides of families and have everyone go to the movies. But Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny lost 143 million. The next was Wish, a Disney movie again that lost 131 million. Another Disney movie, The Haunted Mansion, lost 117 million. So 4 Disney movies in the top 5, and all of these kind of quantity over quality type projects is led in the Disney quarterly earnings call, or the earnings call, or whatever, that Bob Iger this week says that Marvel will release no more than 3 movies and 2 shows per year, which I think is a really good strategy going forward. When they started the MCU, they were doing 2 movies or 3 movies maximum per year, and obviously they didn't really have TV shows. Like they had Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or whatever, but that's a network television. It's pretty low budget, I would say. It's not like a Disney Plus series where the budgets are insane for those shows. So he said, Bob Iger said, we're slowly going to decrease volume and go to probably about 2 TV series a year instead of what had become 4, and reduce our film output from maybe 4 a year to 2, or a maximum of 3. And we're working hard on what that path is. He said they have a couple of good movies in 2025, and then we're heading to more Avengers type projects, which they're extremely excited for. So he feels great about the slate. It's something that he's committed to spending more and more time on. The team is one that I have a tremendous confidence in, and the IP that we are mining, including all the sequels that we're doing, is second to none. Unfortunately, I still think Marvel is going to have a few duds, because they have been working on certain projects for a number of years, and because of strikes, because of COVID, many things have been pushed. They have the new Captain America movie, they have Thunderbolts. I think where they can really get a fresh start will most likely be Fantastic Four for me, and an X-Men movie. Especially with the success of the X-Men TV show, I think they could really indulge the X-Men fan base. But I think definitely for Disney, overall Disney, less is more. Give us less Star Wars, give us less everything. Just really focus on quality things. I think the approach that it looks like James Gunn and DC are taking is really great, where they're really making sure scripts are polished, everything is good to go before filming starts or production starts, because they don't want to be doing things on the fly and having to rewrite things and having to really rework things and kind of just like, fly by the seat of your pants. It's all about actually having plans and having quality and everyone being fully committed. So Disney Marvel specifically, has been an underdog before. You have to remember that before Iron Man, Marvel had almost gone bankrupt. They had sold the rights to most of their characters, and really the start of the MCU was them using a lot of their kind of B-type characters. They weren't using Spider-Man. So they've been in this position before, but I just think with the oversaturation of the market right now with their IP, it is a good idea to do a less is more approach and make each chapter more special. Another really cool piece of news this week that I was quite excited for: Michelle Yeoh, who recently won an Oscar for Everything Everywhere All at Once, amazing actress, she's been in so many fantastic things, is to star in Blade Runner 2099 sequel series for Prime Video. So Blade Runner 2099 is Amazon Prime Video's limited series following up the 2017 movie sequel Blade Runner 2049, which starred Ryan Gosling, which was a sequel to, of course, Blade Runner. Deadline reported that details of Yeoh's role are under wraps, as is the show's plot, but it marks the latest expansion of the sci-fi franchise, based on Philip K. Dick's seminal novel Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, which kicked off with Ridley Scott's classic 1982 film, Blade Runner. Production recently began overseas following a delay of nearly a year due to the double strikes of 2023. While it originally had been set up to shoot in Belfast, the show wound up relocating to Prague following the work stoppage. So that's really cool. I've been meaning to go back and watch I almost want to watch a couple different versions of the original Blade Runner because there's like 6 or 7 versions, but Scott Derrickson, who is a director and writer, he tweeted like a list of all the different Blade Runner versions and his favorite, and I was like, holy shit, I forgot how many versions there are of this one movie, and I'd love to, I really like the final cut, I guess, or there's like the director's cut or final cut, I can't remember, but I think the one I usually watch is the final cut. I think that's what it's called. But I've been wanting to go back and watch Blade Runner and Blade Runner 2049, but it still looks like the TV show is a while away, so I might save those for right before it comes out. That's really cool. Michelle Yeoh, fantastic actress. I seriously love her. I thought Everything Everywhere All at Once especially showed that she's not going anywhere. She's still got major chops. She's a badass. I love her. In some DC news, James Gunn finally has revealed the Superman suit. The picture was everywhere. You can go online and see it. It looks like more of a Kryptonian suit, I would say. It's very textured. Like it's not a tights type situation. But if you zoom in, you can see the underwear. He's wearing the red briefs, which is great. That's what we needed. We need Superman in his underwear. That's what makes the suit amazing. But yeah, it has a bit of a collar on it, which I think I'm okay with, but I'm not a big fan of how the cape is tucked into the shoulders. Yeah, David Corenswet looks huge. Like, holy shit. A couple of years ago, if you looked at him, he was like a pretty skinny dude, and now he's absolutely shredded. So he's on the Hollywood steroid diet. Yeah, it looks great. He's got the red boots. The suit is looking dirty, and you can see in the background of the photo, there's this huge beam in the sky, and it looks like the Green Lantern, Guy Gardner fighting Solaris in the sky. So really cool. I've seen some mixed reactions online of people not liking how big the suit is, but I mean, he's also sitting down and like adjusting his boot in the photo, and it looks like he's in his apartment. So really cool first picture to get. I thought honestly they would just post, I don't know, just him like standing in the suit in a room trying it on for the first time or something like that, or just the suit itself. But it's cool that they like did everything in frame, as James Gunn said. Lord of the Rings fans, I don't know how they feel about this, but Warner Brothers is to release new Lord of the Rings movie, The Hunt for Gollum, in 2026. Peter Jackson is to produce and Andy Serkis is to direct. Now, as my friends have told me, who are the biggest and possibly most annoying Lord of the Rings fans I know, there is a fan-made film called The Hunt for Gollum, which Warner Brothers has recently copyright striked this week, so they can use the name for theirs. But they've also just uncopyrighted it. Uncopyright striked it just yesterday, I think. Okay, let's get into the meat of this. So the original Lord of the Rings trilogy filmmaker Peter Jackson and his partners Fran Walsh and Philippa Boyens are producing the movie and are going to be involved in every step of the way. This is coming out in 2026, and it's all about Gollum. The project's currently in the early stages of script development from writers Walsh and Boyens, along with Phoebe Gittins and Artie Papagiorgio, and will explore storylines yet to be told. And a separate animated Middle-earth movie, The Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim, I don't know how to say that, is due on December 13th via Warner Brothers and director Kenji Kamiyama, and the movie is set 200 years before the events of The Hobbit. They've recently re-released the Lord of the Rings movies in theaters, and I think it made tons of money. Lots of people went and saw it. Rings of Power, people were very mixed on it, I think. There was, and I've been told it's like not related to Lord of the Rings at all, but it also is, so I don't understand the whole situation there. I am not a fan of the Lord of the Rings, don't care for them. I've seen them probably 5 times. I had to watch them for university alone 3 times, and then I've watched them separately once with my friends who are obsessed with Lord of the Rings, and I was like, look, I get it. They're good movies. Like I like how they look and they're well made, but I just don't find them interesting at all. I think there's like a fantasy, just anything with like elves I find I can't connect with. Is that weird? Actually, no, that's not true. I like the movie Elf with Will Ferrell. And Harry Potter has like elves and goblins, but I don't know. There's something about the Lord of the Rings that I just find I don't really care about this. I don't know how to explain it. But anyways, that's cool. Andy Serkis, the illustrious auteur director of Venom, The Last Dance, or whatever it's called, The Final Dance, is coming full circle, and he's going to be directing Lord of the Rings movies. So that's cool. That's good for him, because I think Andy Serkis is a good dude. Okay, and final piece of news that I'll say quickly, just because the Lord of the Rings one was pretty light and there's not that much details around it, but Fantastic Four, I think the cast is absolutely stacked. This is looking really good, and I think this is a great thing to mention before we talk about Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, because the writer of the script of Kingdom is also working on Fantastic Four, I believe. Just this week, they have cast John Malkovich in an unlisted role, but British actor Ralph Ineson is the latest addition to Marvel's The Fantastic Four cast as the world-devouring cosmic villain Galactus. This won't be the first time he's appeared in the MCU. He previously portrayed a Ravager pilot in 2014's Guardians of the Galaxy. If you don't know who he is, amazing voice on him. He's got great pipes. I think he's going to be an immense Galactus, and I'm getting more and more excited for the Fantastic Four movie. I think this is seriously, it's looking great. I think the director is awesome. Matt Shakman, I believe is his name. The writer wrote Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which was a great movie. He wrote also Avatar, The Way of Water, which I think is Avatar. It's James Cameron. It is a James Cameron movie. But visually, it's very cool and like story-wise pretty basic. But my hope is that he really steps up his game for the Fantastic Four movie and is just given all the creative control. But yeah, that's a sick cast announcement. And I'm seriously excited for the Fantastic Four. So that is it for the news this week. Before I get into the review, as always, in the description of this podcast and all your streamers, and in the description on YouTube, there will be timestamps. If you want to avoid spoilers, you can. You can skip through the different chapters. You can jump around, listen to the news and the non-spoilers section as always. I'll try to stick with non-spoilers as much as I can. This movie has tons of spoilers that aren't shown in the trailer. Like, I was really surprised by how much isn't shown in the trailer. So I will stick to non-spoilers as much as I can. Again, all the timestamps are below. You can bounce around, listen to the news, the non-spoilers, and then go to what else I watched, because I did watch tons of other stuff, and I'll talk about more there. Let's get into the review of the week for Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is a 2024 action sci-fi movie, 2 hours and 25 minutes. It is the latest installment in the ongoing Planet of the Apes saga that was rebooted in 2011 with the James Franco one, but we don't talk about James Franco. I love the previous trilogy, and right off the bat, I'm just going to say I'm very happy that we're back doing more Planet of the Apes movies, because there's lots more story to tell, as I will say. But let's get into who's involved in this project first. So it's directed by Wes Ball, who I believe has done like The Maze Runner, so he's kind of dabbled in sci-fi, but that was more like young adult sci-fi before. So he's dabbled in sci-fi before. Cinematography is by Yeoh Pados. It's written by Josh Friedman, who is working on Fantastic Four, I believe, Rick Jaffa and Amanda Silver. Its budget was about $165 million, so that's not crazy, $165 million. It's distributed by 20th Century Studios, of course. It currently has 81% on Rotten Tomatoes with 82% audience score. The Google in a nutshell is epic, thrilling, and complex. The synopsis is, many years after the reign of Caesar, a young ape goes on a journey that will lead him to question everything he's been taught about the past and make choices that will define a future for apes and humans alike. So, the cast. There's cast members and names that I will hold back because they are not shown in the trailer, so I think it's a fun reveal that you don't know they're involved in this until you go and watch it yourself. Freya Allen plays the human woman that's in all the trailers. Kevin Durand is Proximus Caesar. Owen Teague is Noah. You might know him from the It movies, I think he's in the first It movie. Peter McCann is Raka. Travis Jeffrey is Anaya. Lydia Peckham is Suna. So it's not, what I kind of like about this movie is the cast is not stacked with recognizable voices, to me at least, and recognizable performers. I like that we're kind of getting performers that haven't been in insane projects before or in absolutely everything. It's kind of it's nice. And right away, I'll say the cast is phenomenal in this. I'll get into things that maybe frustrated me about this film, but I just want to start off by saying I found this film was extraordinarily crafted and it's so well acted. I seriously, I love the Planet of the Apes movies overall. Especially the new trilogy, I seriously love. I've been meaning to go back and watch all of the old ones again because, oh my god, especially like, how many are there? 6 or 5? The last couple where it gets really strange, I have only ever seen on like TV as a child, but I love the Planet of the Apes. I seriously love sci-fi in general, and I think the fact that the Planet of the Apes movies generally continue to do very well financially at the box office is because people are very attached to this franchise. Everyone loves seeing a monkey ride a horse, and this film is no different. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, there's pacing issues that I will discuss a little bit further, but overall, I seriously recommend people go and watch this because Same thing with Avatar, like the Avatar movies. Visually, it is such an experience to see this. I would absolutely recommend seeing it in IMAX, especially. The cinematography is amazing. The motion capture, I know Andy Serkis is not in this, but he was very supportive of the cast, and I don't know how involved he was or if he kind of helped with any assistance or anything like that, but absolutely so well done. The physicality of everyone in this film is it's amazing, and you really can tell like the expression that comes through all these people's performances, and it's just so impressive to look at, and you're enjoying every frame that's on screen. I think that was one of my favorite things about the movie. It's just the look. And this is like centuries after the virus breaks out in Rise of the Planet of the Apes, which is the first one with James Franco. So this is way centuries. Now Caesar is like just a legend to the apes, as it says in the trailer. Like, you know, there's the kind of worshiping of Caesar and twisting of his words, and it's really cool to see his legacy all of these centuries later. There's all these, you know, for Caesar, and it's so hard after watching the movie to not just walk around the house and be like, oh, and stuff like that, you know. It's like you get so hyped by it just watching a bunch of apes on screen acting. But seriously, this is an amazingly crafted movie. We are getting so many well-made films now. Like Dune Part 2, amazing to look at. Love Lies Bleeding was so gorgeous, and the dark noir tones and the use of red in the film. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, no different. Challengers, also just an absolute gem to look at. It was kind of a bummer because I was a little annoyed while watching the movie. The guy beside me, from the first word that showed up on the screen of, you know, 20th Century Fox, he immediately looked like he had somewhere to be, and he was like in a rush to get out of the theater. He's checking his phone every 20 seconds. He's looking at his watch. It's like, dude, you came to a 2.5-hour movie and you're in a rush. And like, I don't know, maybe his girlfriend was a huge Planet of the Apes fan and he got dragged to this. And he just like was starting to scroll Instagram and Twitter in the first 20 seconds. I was like, hey man, can you put your phone away? He's like, oh yeah, sorry. And he just leaves it on his lap and keeps checking the time like every 20 minutes. And I'm like, Christ, that's so annoying. There are also these boomers, a section ahead of me, but a bunch of seats over, who were just talking as loud as possible randomly about things of like them reacting to the movie. I literally had like a commentary running with it. It was, despite these things, it was such an enjoyable experience. I was so immersed in the story. And let me start with the cast specifically, because I do want to highlight their performances. This movie is such a breath of fresh air, and I love that we're getting these new young cast members that are going to carry kind of the torch from Andy Serkis and the amazing cast members of the previous trilogy. God, I love sci-fi. This movie just shows like sci-fi is the best. So Owen Teague, or Teague, I'm not sure how to say his name, but he plays Noah, who is like the young ape that we are experiencing the story through. He is such a great gateway into this new franchise because he's playing this kind of, it is almost like a coming of age story, but with apes, which I really liked. We're following the Eagle clan is what they're called, because they all like breed birds and they command eagles in their tribe, and his father is like the eagle master. And Noah's not any good with these eagles. As you can see in the trailer, there's a lot of shots of birds and the use of birds and like how they're like pets and friends to the apes. But anyways, Owen is really great because the story is all about the effects of the legacy of Caesar, and now that we're centuries away from what happened, we're kind of seeing the world start up again for the apes, and we're far enough from them not knowing about the human-ape relationship that we're now just getting the Planet of the Apes and how the different clans interact with each other. So Noah is really great because he's young, he doesn't know that much, all he cares about is the law of his own clan, and very like by the book, and he seriously cares about rules and order in his own clan. But then, as you see in the trailer, there's this masked clan of apes that they battle with, and that's where we get our conflict from. So really great. Oh, and his voice is phenomenal. It's so freaky how you can really get if you look at a picture of him and a picture of his character Noah, it seriously is like with Andy Serkis, it's all of their facial features are translated so well into their characters as apes, which I seriously loved. He has very prominent eyebrows, like Will Poulter kind of, and you see this with Owen as well playing Noah, and I seriously love him. I have so much praise for his role in this film. He physically is so great as Noah, but also just like the emotion he brings to the role and wanting to battle for what he believes in. Freya Allen is the human woman that we see in all of the trailers. She's seriously awesome in this movie. I'll get more into her background and spoilers, because it's what I really love about this movie is so much of what we see in the trailers is only really the tip of the iceberg. There are so many revelations and and great twists in the film that come within the last third of the movie, I would say. But yeah, Freya Allen as the human is just awesome. She is a really great character that grows more and more complicated as the story goes on. And like our ape tribe that we're following doesn't know the word human. They call them echoes. And they're like kind of scared of humans, or they don't trust humans. They think humans are like this savage wild animal that need to be tamed. And then he meets Freya, and as you can see in the trailer, you know, he starts to become sympathetic to humans. All the performers in this are absolutely phenomenal. Kevin Durant, who I just watched in X-Men Origins, the Wolverine as the Blob, he plays Proximus Caesar, as he calls himself. He's like the clan leader that abducts all of Noah's clan. He's awesome. I saw online this week that like apparently he's modeled off of Elon Musk or something like that, which cannot be true, but I just found that very funny. He's really great, and he also brings, he's a very tall and strong guy in real life, and you really do see the physicality in his performance because he's a very dominant ape. He's a great villain. I think the characters of this story are phenomenal. None of the issues in this story come from any character moment. It is all just kind of narrative and script based, which I will get into. But the characters and the performances are all phenomenal. I hope everyone, no spoilers, everyone that's like alive, or I hope everyone comes back for if they do a sequel, which I really hope they do a sequel. I hope this movie does extremely well this weekend. I would love a new trilogy of these. I think we need another trilogy to follow up and make it 6 films. You know, we have the humans and apes with the virus spreading, and then we go to centuries later now that Caesar's gone. So cool. Let's get into the world building. So the first 2/3, well, the first third of the movie really is mostly world building. Like we see our conflict rise of Noah, rise of the conflict of the Planet of the Apes. That could be a name for the next one. Yeah, seriously, this movie does take its time world building, which to me can be a little bit frustrating at times because I really love how we're shown. The new world that we're in is very interesting. We are centuries away from Caesar's existence. We have moved along into new laws and new rules and new religions among the apes and how they live off of the land, away from cities. They live in forests again, but they all speak. So I love the new world that we're in, but this movie is incredibly frustrating with the pacing and sometimes maybe over-explaining what has happened and the revelations of the world. The opening scene is particularly really exciting, and you get to understand the state of the world now, but kind of, you know, this is a 2.5-hour movie, and the first hour and I would say 30 minutes is mostly world building, exploring with like minor action sequences and conflicts spread out there. Actually, no, that feels a little unfair, but it does frustrate you, the subject matter of the first 2/3, because everything that's interesting is really revealed for the last hour, and we get to see it play out in the third hour, and it's so fascinating. But then it almost takes away from the first 2 hours or whatever of the movie, or hour and a half or whatever. So it almost makes the start feel like not a waste of time, but you're like, okay, now I was interested at the start, but this is much more interesting and so much richer material to get into. There's a lot of the characters explaining to Noah because his clan doesn't know about Caesar. And this isn't spoilers, it's all in the trailer. They're like, what do you know about human evolution? What do you know about Caesar? And look, I have a feeling that a lot of people going to see this movie will know about the Planet of the Apes, will know the story of Caesar and the virus. Especially, this isn't a spoiler, the movie opens with a title card explaining centuries ago humans created a virus that gave apes the ability to evolve and speak and stuff like that, and the legend of Caesar, blah blah blah, you know, like a basic title card like most movies would have in a follow-up trilogy explaining. But then we kind of see that title card explained over and over again a few different times, or not explained over and over again, but almost overanalyzed and frustratingly. Like there's a lot of Noah being told about how it actually was with Caesar, but the way they're doing it is very bare bones, like looking at drawings or just one ape talking to another ape or an orangutan, instead of going and looking at items or specific things that are relics of that time. So, which comes in the last third of the movie, which I'll get into in spoilers. Don't worry, I'm not saying anything that, like in the trailer, the Proximus asks Noah, what do you know about human evolution? And there's actually, I mean, credit to the trailer creators for this movie, because I thought watching the trailers, wow, are they really giving a lot away? And now that I've seen the movie, I can tell you they gave absolutely so little away. They didn't really give away the MacGuffin of the movie. They didn't really give away any details about the characters, which I seriously love. So kudos to the person that makes the trailer for the Planet of the Apes trilogy. But back to the pacing issues. The final third of this movie is exhilarating and such great intrigue and what the world is happening in it. But the first two thirds, I still really loved them and I was interested in what was happening. We're kind of seeing Noah explore. I think they're in California. Yeah, they're in California and he's kind of exploring around where his clan is and trying to find his family. And it's interesting, but it almost pales in comparison to the final third of the movie. So I think there could have been a little bit more of spreading out the interesting stuff from the final third of the movie to the first 2/3 of the movie, or exploring just more direct archaeological things from the time that we're referencing with Caesar. Like there's scenes where we kind of feel like we aren't learning anything. We're kind of just being spoken to by the characters about how little they keep reassuring us. Oh, we know so little about Caesar, or lots of apes know so little about Caesar, and they're manipulating his legacy, which is really interesting. Show us more. And this really is a setup movie for a new trilogy. I'll say that. That's not really a spoiler. I think they've come out and said that they want to do more movies. This isn't a one and done. They want to do a trilogy, I believe is the plan. And it is a little frustrating at times how much this does feel like it's leading us to another movie, which it's fun, because it's like, oh, cool. There's so many threads that we can follow with these movies, and it feels very open when it ends. And I'm not saying what the ending is, but it is a little frustrating sometimes because it's like, just leave us in the moment right now. However, with all that being said, even if the excitement of the third act sort of takes away your fondness of the first 2/3 of the movie, overall, the entire movie altogether was still really fun. I would totally watch this again. I would actually go to the theaters and watch it again, as long as it was. Like, it's 2 hours and 25 minutes. And, sometimes you watch a 2 hour and 25 minute movie or a 2 hour and 30 minute movie, whatever, and it feels like time flies by. There are a couple of scenes in this where I was like, oof, okay, let's move it along. I'm starting to yawn a bit. It didn't help that I got up at 5 a.m. to go to the gym the same day, and I had been up for 15 hours on very little sleep as well. So it was tough. A couple of scenes, I'm like, okay, let's move on. We get it. We don't need to draw this out anymore. So there are a couple things that could be cut out, but I was very intrigued by the world and the new world that we're in, especially this new kingdom that we're exploring, and how the world has moved on and manipulated Caesar's legacy and his words to fit their current agenda. And it's so weird because I'm currently reading Dune Messiah, and I had read a really interesting passage in Dune Messiah the night before I saw this that has just stuck with me, and I just want to read it quickly to you. It's only a couple lines. I won't say who the characters are just in case you don't want to know anything about Dune Messiah, but the idea of clans and civilizations that are perceived as crazy or fanatics type things. And one character says, the Fremen are civil, educated, and ignorant. They're not mad. They're trained to believe, not to know. Belief can be manipulated. Only knowledge is dangerous. I think that just reflects really interesting within a lot of different sci-fis, but just taking that passage from Dune Messiah, and then when I was watching Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, I was like, oh my god, it really is. Belief is manipulated versus, knowledge being withheld because it restricts belief, they're told what to believe, and when it comes true or it's shown to them. Anyways, you get what I'm saying. This is like kind of, it's like Dune and most sci-fi movies where it's different clans and tribes and civilizations fighting with each other for evolution and prosperity. But look, let me end the non-spoiler section with this. Planet of the Apes, not just Kingdom, but I think Planet of the Apes is seriously loved by the film world and the entertainment world in general. I think with this movie coming out, I'm seeing so much online of just how many people are like, oh yeah, I've loved the Planet of the Apes movie since I was a kid, and I'm so excited to see this one. And it's really surprising to me, and it's really nice that this doesn't feel like an IP that people are tired of and feel that it's being milked, because it doesn't have 20 TV shows, it doesn't have 4 new movies a year. We've only had, in our time, not counting Tim Burton's in 2001, we've only had 4 now, and the trilogies feel very different, while still this movie feels like such an excellent continuation. I think a lot of what works about this film is it's a lot lot of the same CGI and visual effects people, I believe. And also the score, I know Michael Giacchino did the War for the Planet of the Apes and Dawn of the Planet of the Apes because Matt Reeves directed them and they often collaborate. But the score for this film is phenomenal as well, and it gives a very familiar feel to the previous trilogy, which I seriously enjoyed. Throughout the movie, I was very enamored by the score. So I'm really happy to see that the Planet of the Apes is still thriving. I hope this movie makes so much money. I hope it definitely makes profit. I think it probably will. I read online somewhere last week that it was expected maybe 130 million not opening weekend, but that sounds like crazy. But it's expected to make a lot of money globally, I think, opening weekend, which I hope it does, because for me, this was an extremely entertaining movie. I gave it 4 out of 5 on Letterboxd. I hope people go see it. Even if you haven't seen the last trilogy, I feel like you can still go and see this one and enjoy it. I asked one of my friends if he wanted to come, but he hadn't really seen any of the others, so I was like, yeah, okay, fair enough. But having come out of the movie last night, I went by myself. I still think people could watch this and they would really understand what happened. There was this ape named Caesar and yada yada yada, So anyways, yeah, 4 out of 5 for me. I think the pacing really holds back some parts, but overall the story and this new trilogy that we're going into is quite promising. But let's get into spoilers because there are lots of twists I want to get to. Okay, so spoilers for Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. The human that we see, or human woman, that we see in the trailer, she has a name and she can speak. Her name is May. Because in the action sequence, she just screams Noah at one point when she's about to be attacked, and everyone's like, holy shit. The human can talk. It's really cool. It really reflects back to when Caesar first yelled no in Rise of the Planet of the Apes, which, oh my god, that's the best part of the movie when he said no. Yeah, awesome. Sorry, I'll try not to do ape voice, but it's a really great reveal. I love, as I said, that they didn't show it in the trailer. I think the twists of this movie, it's so good that they restrain themselves for the trailers because it's so enjoyable when you get to the theater and watch the movie. So what they don't show us in the trailer is Proxima's clan wants to, basically they're trying to open this huge blast door of this bunker that the government went underground in. I think it's outside of San Francisco, but she also wants to get inside because there is, quote, a book. That is what she tells the apes. She needs to get inside to find this book. She's refusing to help Proxima and they're captured. So when she gets captured with Noah, she meets another human who can speak as well because humans can speak now. And it's played by William H. Macy. His name's Trevathan, and he's like this human that's been trapped, and he teaches the apes about history and all these different, it's crazy. I had no clue he was in this. I was like, holy shit, another human, and he's talking, and he lives with the apes. He's clean. Civilization is coming back. Really cool. And the dynamic, he keeps telling May, the world we once knew, or not even that we knew, that they've been taught about, it's never going to come back. So you may as well embrace the times. This is the apes world, and we have to live here as best we can. May, Noah, Anaya, and Suna all break into the bunker one night. So May is trying to find this quote book, and I say quote book because in a sec I'll tell you what it is. And it's really cool once they get into the bunker, especially having just watched Fallout. It's kind of this apocalypse bunker that they all went underground during the virus and ran the world from there, or ran America from there. So you see people's apartments, you see classrooms, you see tanks, you see the military all underground. And that is where the 3 apes find this children's book that is this kid's trip to the zoo, and they first understand how the world actually was. It wasn't actually humans and apes getting along. It was humans dominating apes, keeping them in cages. Apes could not speak. And it's really eerie because you start to see the mistrust developing between the humans and the apes. And they question the intentions of May. What is she trying to do? We follow May where she leaves them and goes upstairs into this, basically the satellite communications type room where she breaks into this motherboard, and the book she is looking for is actually this massive transponder type thing. It almost looks like a disk type, I don't know, a massive hard drive that can align satellites. So she gets the book, or the hard drive. She doesn't tell the apes why she's actually there. She just says, okay, let's go. And as they're going downstairs, they open the door because their plan is to flood the bunker after they leave it and ruin Proxima's plans. So as soon as they open the door, all the apes are waiting for them. May pulls out a gun and shoots an ape, and they're all like, holy shit, what is that thing? Because they don't know about guns. They have some weapons, but it's more shocking taser type things. So they're like, oh my God, she's got a gun. So they let her go. She successfully blows it up. We get a great action sequence through the flooding of this bunker and them, all of Noah's clan, the Eagle clan, all climbing to the top of it. May flees successfully. She leaves all the apes and just watches the flooding. But so we start to just follow the apes as they're kind of working. It's a really great action sequence. And this, again, the visual effects and CGI are so good in this movie. And I was seriously appreciating it, especially in that scene. In the end, well, not really the end, like the conclusion of our story of the battle between, Noah's clan and Proxima's clan is they all successfully make it to the top, where Noah is finally able to command the eagles, and all these eagles attack Proxima and push him off a cliff, so he's dead. Now Noah is the new leader. The final scenes of this movie are absolutely mind-boggling and so great. And actually the whole bunker thing is, like I said, the final third of this movie where we're at Proxima's clan is possibly the most interesting part of the movie, because we start to see the apes understanding their relationship with humans more and more in evolution, versus the first 2/3 where we're kind of just exploring the forest with Noah, which is still interesting but not as interesting. So in the end, May and Noah decide they have to go their separate ways, and May is actually hiding a gun in her waistband behind her back, which Noah doesn't know about. So it's like, oh my god, was she gonna shoot Noah? They kind of agree perhaps apes and humans can never get along, so they have to go their own separate ways and live their lives. Just sets up a second film brilliantly. The setting up of a trilogy is done so well in this movie. The final scene of the movie is Noah taking his lover to this massive telescope and looking up at the sky, and it's juxtaposed with May taking that transponder hard drive that she got, and she goes to this underground bunker where there's satellites all above the ground, but she goes and knocks on this door, and someone in a hazmat suit comes out, takes the transponder from her. They go underground, and it turns out there's this huge human civilization underground, all talking to each other. They look completely normal. So clearly for centuries people have been living underground, and it's just such a holy shit, it's so interesting, but it's so frustrating that it's shown in the last scene, because it's there were no hints of that. It's so cool. But anyways, they establish contact with another human bunker across the country. And it's oh my God, are we going to get humans trying to take back Earth? And they've all gone underground. And the final scene is both May and Noah looking up at the sky, because May is looking at the satellites moving that have successfully established contact, and Noah also looking up at the sky. To be honest, I thought the Icarus was going to come from the sky or whatever, and we were going to get a Charles Heston type thing on Earth. But yeah, the ending is just mwah, chef's kiss. Absolutely phenomenal. Totally loved that ending. And the final third of this movie is absolutely bananas. Oh, wait. No pun intended, because they're apes. Bananas. It's like Monkey Man all over again. You can't talk about this movie without making banana jokes. But yeah, the spoilers of this movie are crazy. And I'm seriously so thrilled with how much they held back from the trailers. I think that is a brilliant way to keep audiences coming back. And it really spreads word of mouth, because it's oh, I saw the trailers and I didn't really like it. Oh, trust me, there's so much more in the movie. Oh, okay, well, I'll go see it. You know what I mean? So overall, I thought this was a brilliant movie. Although it suffers from some pacing issues, I think it's seriously another outstanding achievement in visual effects and motion capture and performance capture. I absolutely loved it. I gave it a 4 out of 5, but a really good 4 out of 5. It was seriously entertaining. That was Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Let's move into what else I watched this week. Okay, I watched a lot this week, but there's some of it that I can't talk about. I watched X-Men, X2, X-Men The Last Stand, X-Men Origins Wolverine, X-Men First Class, and The Wolverine, as well as X-Men 97 Episode 9. I'm going to save all of those for an X-Men special episode, or an X-Men focused spectacular on it'd probably come out June 3rd, I think. Yeah, because I'm going to pre-record it before I go away for the weekend. So I'm going to save my thoughts, but overall, really cool watching all these movies together. When I was younger, I can only remember watching the first X-Men and X2 on TV. I didn't own it, and there wasn't streaming, of course. So I only remember really remnants. I'm born in 2000, which is when X-Men came out, and X2 came out in 2003, and Last Stand came out in 2006. So I was still a child. But really cool. There's obviously some of them are better than others, but I will save all my thoughts for the X-Men special. All I'll say is X-Men 97 was phenomenal again this week. I don't get why more people aren't watching this, even if you aren't an X-Men fan. I also watched Mad Max 2, 3, and 4, so that's Road Warrior, Beyond Thunderdome, and Fury Road. Fury Road, oh my god, holy shit. So crazy. It's like one long action sequence. That has to be like one of the best action movies in a while. I'm so excited for Furiosa, having watched all the Mad Max movies. I'll talk about them more next week in a Watcher Watchback, our second Watcher Watchback, where we talk about all the Mad Max movies. I finally finished Shogun this week, and overall, I think my enjoyment, I don't know, it kind of felt like 10 episodes was a lot. Some of the episodes kind of blended together, and it was still really great, and it was like, I don't know, people say, oh, it's like Game of Thrones or whatever. I didn't watch Game of Thrones. I watched the first season and a half, and then heard the last season was shit, so I stopped watching. But it's still really good television, Shogun. The visual effects are amazing. It's a beautiful show. It's really well written, and I overall enjoyed it. Like, I would give it a solid 4.5 out of 5. It just like wasn't my favorite thing I've ever watched, if that makes sense. I was able to squeeze in like an episode every night, so I watched it over a few days when I wasn't watching X-Men movies and Mad Max. But yeah, really good, and I would recommend Shogun. I also started a new show called The Sympathizer, which is an HBO Max show, or HBO show, with Robert Downey Jr. He's not like the main character, but it's about a Viet Cong spy, or a Vietnamese American spy. I watched episode 1 and I really enjoyed it. I'm into the, historical TV shows right now, so that was really good. But also Survivor this week was again great. Unfortunately, Canadian Venus was voted out, which was a bit of a bummer because she was just starting to cook. It seemed like she was really having a tough time bonding with everyone, and said everyone on the cast was like really rude this year. And I think that's very true when you look online and on social media of how this cast interacts with each other. They are not fond of each other at all. So yeah, Survivor was great, and we only have 2 episodes left, which I'm kind of bummed about. But yeah, I think that's everything I watched this week. So that about does it for episode 17, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, everybody. Another great one. Wow, episode 17. Next week, our show will be old enough to vote in Canada. Yeah, again, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, totally solid. I think people should go see it. It's a great popcorn flick. It has good action. It has great storytelling. Minor pacing issues, but I don't think it really takes away the enjoyment of the film too much. And you're going to be overall happy with what you saw. But as always, rate, review, and share the show. Give us 5 stars on all your podcast platforms, whether it be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Acast. Give us 5-star everywhere. Share it with a friend. Get your friends to listen. Help the show grow. It really helps with engagement. If you are on the YouTube channel, like and comment. Subscribe as well and hit the notification bell. What did you think of Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes? If you saw it, what have you been watching this week as well? If you're not on the YouTube and you want to email the show, you can email the show at watcherofallthings@gmail.com with questions about things, or if you have topic suggestions, hit me up on the email as well. You can also follow me on TikTok, the show's TikTok account at watcher.of.allthings, as well as Instagram with @watcherofallthings. I post little videos on there once in a while. And you can also follow my Letterboxd at KikiJ70. That's KIKIJ70, where you can see my reviews early. All of this will be linked in the description, of course. Yeah, rate, review, and share 5 stars. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know on social media or through email, what did you think of the Planet of the Apes newest installment? What have you been watching this week? What should I talk about on here if there's something that I haven't covered yet? Next week is a big one. We're doing a Watcher Watchback, the second one, Mad Max 1 to 4. So that's Mad Max, The Road Warrior, Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, and Mad Max Fury Road. So we'll get into that before Furiosa in 2 weeks. Thank you so much for listening. As always, I hope you have a fantastic week. Happy Mother's Day, especially to mine. Happy Mother's Day. And I will see you in the next one.